Good thirsty Thursday morning, friends. Mark Holmes here, of course, with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, as well as you ladies, you know that this literally does not work. So let's get over it. Let's wake up the football gods here. Man, I don't know about you. It's still hard to believe here, this first week of the offseason for the Cowboys, that our season is over in the fashion that it went. Are you going through the 5 stages of grief? I think we kind of skipped over the first one, which is denial. Straight into anger. Because, you know, everybody has just been mad as hell. They want their pounds of flesh. And from anger, you supposedly go into bargaining. You know, you please, baby, please, come on, we can fix this, we can do it. And from there, you go on to depression. And then finally, acceptance. Me, I think it was anger first with depression at the same time. Then I think I went into denial about the real issues. I don't know that there's any bargaining because I'm a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan and it's killing me. Haven't gotten to acceptance yet, but that's where we are. I tell you what, yesterday was a good and a bad day for me because I got my Inventables yesterday. You know, I got in there with Michael and we did a live stream and we're putting it together and, got it together. We're actually getting the motor to move and it's starting to home and figure out all its calculations and stuff. And then it kind of stopped. And we couldn't figure why. It wasn't doing the steps that it said it was supposed to do. So we called customer service and shout out to the gentleman that I talked to for about 3 hours while we were trying to figure out what the problem was. And it turned out it was just this little button that's got damaged somewhere between being made and getting it to my house. And they've already overnighted one. It'll be here sometime before 8 o'clock tomorrow night, which is great that I'll have it tomorrow. The only problem is it's not here before 5 o'clock. It'll be after they close. And if I need customer support, I won't be able to get it till Monday. So it's good and it's bad. And that's how life is. You have to take the good with the bad. But we were listening to the Mike McCarthy press conference. And I'm kind of half listening to it because I'm trying to read the directions and put this thing together. But the more I go through it, the worse I actually feel. This morning, first thing I saw was Mike McCarthy admits that Zeke Elliott tore his PCL in week 4. Now, PCL, it's not like your ACL. Let me go through so we understand what we're talking about here. He had a PCL tear, which, again, is only a type of tear that's about 20% of them. They can require surgery, or they can end up, if you rest, 9 to 12 weeks. It can be, it can heal on its own with, therapy, physical therapy and stuff, but you're not going to keep running on it because it's not going to get any better. If you have surgery, it can be 6 to 9 months possible healing time. So what causes a PCL tear? Of course, sports, football, baseball, skiing. Grade 1 is a partial tear. Grade 2, the ligament is partially torn and is looser than a grade 1. Grade 3, the ligament is completely torn and the knee becomes unstable. Grade 4, the PCL is damaged along with another ligament in the knee. We can rule out grade 4 because we've only heard about a PCL. We can probably say 3 probably isn't the case either because that would be a completely torn and his knee would be unstable completely and he probably wouldn't be able to play at all. So that leaves us with grade 1 or 2. So partially torn, painful, so on, and a little bit loose. So here's where now all of a sudden you think about incompetence. You have Tony Pollard, who doesn't block as well as Zeke. Let's be clear, he does not. But he can run the ball a lot better than Zeke with a tore PCL. The fact that you continue to run Zeke Elliott as the number one guy with a PCL instead of making a calculated decision of maybe we need to get him off the field, get him rested, get him to the point where he can perform down the road. Let's lean on Tony Pollard. What you did was you kind of just ran him into the ground. To me, that's incompetence. That's not understanding the dynamics of saying, I need a healthy Zeke and running game down the road. Because the reality was, what you got out of Zeke Elliott, getting 25, 30, 35, 40 yards is not winning you games. And I dare say that Jawan Hardy on some of those games could have gotten what we were getting out of the running game, which was nothing. It makes no sense whatsoever. And this is where you have to start questioning Mike McCarthy's decision-making. Yesterday's press conference, to me, I went away from it thinking, this is not the guy. This gave me more questions of, I know how to win. Like I said before, it reminds me of Lefter Giselle. I know how to coach. When you have to tell people you know how to win, you've lost. You've lost. And now with the idea of losing the coordinators, and Joe Witt is now being interviewed with the Seattle Seahawks. The thought is it's not just Dan Quinn. It's Dan Quinn with these other guys that are teaching all these players. And now all of a sudden you're looking at the coaching staff of what was probably the best improvement of the group, the leader of that guy going, and now having Mike McCarthy, maybe without his best coordinators, now in charge. You start all of a sudden saying, yeah, that thing of NFC East champions not repeating, the record might not be in jeopardy next year if all that happens and comes to fruition. Now, the thing that still bothers me is, and I'm trying to dissect the body, I'm trying to look at all the things that we have to do better. And some people are so singularly focused on just saying the quarterback. I'm not saying the quarterback had a great game. He didn't. But since we're talking about medical, the old the ankle bone's connected to the shin bone, and shin bone's connected to the knee bone, and the knee bone's connected to the thigh bone. So is the offense, because the tackles are connected to the guards, and the guards connected to the center. The center's connected to the quarterback, and the quarterback's connected to the running backs and to the wide receivers. And if you take the thigh bone out, the rest of those bones down below don't work. And that's how it is with the offense. We had so many things that looked wrong. It's even amazing when you actually think about all the things that went wrong, that we still had a chance in the game. We got wide receivers getting lost in the sun. We've got stupid-ass penalties, 14 of them. We've got no running game. We've got drop passes. All of these things need to be corrected. These penalties that were the worst when it comes to penalties in the NFL. Can't do it. This offensive line that can't open up holes. The running backs that can't get yards. The receivers that are running the wrong routes and dropping passes. The quarterback who's overthrowing on some plays and having to run for his life. We've got to fix all of these things. Now, I will say that this clip, I love Rich Eisen. Rich Eisen is an old dog. He's not a Cowboy fan. but he usually kind of tells it like it is. When you listen to his recap and the summary of all the things that went wrong, it's kind of mind-blowing.
Cowboys championship season aspirations, the games that we've seen this year that lend credence, from the opener in Tampa, where Dak came back and threw for over 400 yards and almost won that game. The game against the Washington football team just a few weeks ago, seeing them put up 50 against a Philadelphia Eagles team that wasn't playing their starters, but still, you got to beat who's in front of you and get that momentum going. And this team had a 4,000-yard passer and a 1,000-yard rusher and a 1,000-yard receiver and a 10-sack guy and a 10-interception guy, and this is a championship quality team, and they were going to win this game and move forward and confirm the belief that this team could win the Super Bowl. That's one way it was going to go, and then the other way it was going to go is that they were going to have a fever dream type nightmare day where it would be full of self-inflicted wounds and mistakes and penalties and turnovers and sacks.
And it did.
And this team would go down in the playoffs despite having a 4,000-yard passer and a 1,000-yard rusher and a 1,000-yard receiver and a 10-sack guy and a 10-interception guy. And who knew? Most of us. That it was the latter, and it would be the latter, and it was the latter. That happened. We saw it yesterday. We saw the 49ers come in and hit the Dallas Cowboys in the mouth. I saw that one coming. I picked them. I thought it. Brockman picked him. He thought it. Many others thought it. Hit him in the mouth. 10-0 lead. 10-0 lead. And so much is discussed about the end of this game, and we will hit that in a moment. But don't forget, in advance, Cowboys didn't pick up their first down of the game until they were down 10-0. They didn't even have 120 yards total offense in the first half of this game. 49ers came in and hit them in the mouth, but the Cowboys defense kept on forcing them to settle for field goals, keeping this thing afoot for Dallas. And sure enough, the Jimmy G interception took place, and it changed everything. And this game with 16 minutes ago, and the Dallas Cowboys down 16 with 16 minutes ago, and we were seeing all the sad Cowboy fans and the nervous Jones in their sweet shots. It started to change, started to switch. The Dallas Cowboys did score a touchdown off of that interception, and it was a tight game, a totally tight game. But the Cowboys made too many mistakes. 14 penalties. 14 penalties.
You can't.
I repeat, 14 penalties they had in the game.
So ridiculous.
And they still had a shot to win it.
That's the crazy thing.
Because the 49ers were making some bizarre maneuvers, like, say, with this running game performing as well as possible, still throwing it with Jimmy G, playing with those pieces of fire. Don't forget, after they did get an interception, they handed it off to Deebo Samuel. He's so incredible. And they were running the football so well. And then on 4th and 1 at midfield with 6 and change to go, they punted it. What was that all about? Well, the defense was balling out. Because, sure enough, the Dallas Cowboys with a sack and 3 consecutive incompletions gave the ball back to San Francisco. And now all the Niners had to do was just burn all of Dallas's timeouts and get a couple first downs and end the game.
Yep.
And they got the first down by penalty. Randy Gregory mysteriously tackling the guy who's trying to block him.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff just didn't make sense.
Tackled the offensive lineman. And that seemingly ended the game. All the Niners had to do was get a first down. And it looked like they did until they didn't. And Dallas had another shot. Because they respot the football properly. And for some reason, San Francisco decides to motion their best offensive lineman on a friggin' quarterback sneak. And Jimmy G snaps it too soon before Trent Williams is set. Now San Francisco's got to punt the ball. And they have to rescind the bye-byes that they were waving to all the Dallas faithful. What was that about? A fever dream on both sides broke out. And then Dak started making plays. Nice little hook and ladder. A couple other plays where San Francisco was letting Dallas get out of bounds. And then suddenly San Francisco's like, you know what? D'Amico Ryan's a defensive coordinator with a few ticks left on the clock. No timeouts left for Dallas. You know what? We're just going to basically build two 49er walls on each side of the boundaries, you know? We're just going to line up all our defenders on the sidelines and give you the middle of the field, and Dallas took it. Set the hook with that bait. No, there was no bait because Dallas was practicing this. They had it. They had the plan. They had the whole plan. The plan is for Dak to get as many yards as possible so they don't have to fling it from the 40-yard line, which, by the way, not a bad spot to fling it from. Okay? You know, not a bad spot to fling it from. But let's run it. But Dak's got to get down in time. Then he doesn't get down in time. And remarkably, hands the ball to his own senator spot. I didn't see the Nickelodeon game. But did they tell the kids you're not allowed to spot your own football in the National Football League? Folks, you can't spot your own football in the National Football League. So you're either somebody who needs to find the official to spot it, or if you do give it to your center, the center's got to know to find the official to spot it. And the official whose job is to spot it needed to get through Dak and large human beings in order to get on the other side of the line of scrimmage to spot it. He did move the football a little bit too much for my liking and finally spotted it, and there is no Hail Mary. Instead of getting 2 Hail Mary shots, the Cowboys get no Hail Mary shots. End of game. Dak Prescott, after the game, said something I think he wants to take back. I'll be very honest with you. Totally out of character for him. My colleague Jane Slater from the NFL Media Group got video from a friend of hers. She tweeted it out, and
I guess we can end it there. But when you think about all of the things that he just listed, all of the things, it's too much to overcome. It's just too much to overcome. And I'm just sitting here again thinking about Mike McCarthy without Dan Quinn. And probably Kellen Moore. I know a lot of people want Kellen Moore gone and all that, but call Kellen Moore what you want. When Zeke was healthy and the offensive line was working, this offense was working. But you can't have the fundamental things like penalties happen. There's so many things that the Cowboys are going to have to do. I hope that they're ready for this because with 21 free agents, with being $13 million over the salary cap, it's hard to feel optimistic about next season with Mike McCarthy after that press conference. So I'm going to go do some work, try and get my mind right, understand that the Dolphins will be interviewing Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn. It's kind of funny how everybody's interviewing them at the same time today. Joe Witt will be interviewing for Seattle Seahawks, and Pat McAdoo had interviewed with Carolina for their offensive coordinator. A lot of things are changing in the Cowboys, and we don't know what direction they're going to go. With that being said, you know how we roll.
Our coach here, and as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report.
And the only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys?
I'll see you guys soon.